This is Hannibal and Piper here from the HannibalTV.com with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. But there is some other news that came out today, and it's some sad news that Dave Hebner, who was a longtime referee, agent, and he had worked for Crockett Promotions behind the scenes in WWE and TNA. He's passed away at 73 after dealing with Parkinson's disease and depression. Of course, Earl Hebner is the one that's better known of the two because he was on camera more, but Dave was part of that famous Saturday night main event angle with the twin referees that I think had the highest rating of all time for wrestling, some ridiculously high rating. It may have been, it was in the, I'll have to look it up, but it was really high, incredibly high. Vince McMahon opened SmackDown tonight, I guess to show that he's going to stand strong no matter if people try to take him down or not. John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations, who's also involved in that sex scandal with Vince McMahon, isn't at SmackDown. However, he was never scheduled to be there. Apparently, he is scheduled to be at Raw on Monday, so there's no news on if there's going to be any restructuring or not, despite those allegations that have come out. And that's all to do with the Wall Street Journal June 15th story, where they brought up that the WWE Board of Directors are investigating an accusation of a payoff made by Vince to multiple women that him and John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations, had affairs with, and the payoffs were made to keep them quiet. Apparently, this all started back on March 30th when board members were sent an email that had stated that McMahon agreed to pay $3 million to a 41-year-old woman who had been a paralegal with WWE and later John Laurinaitis' assistant. The email was anonymous, supposedly from a woman's friend. The payoff came from McMahon himself, and he didn't use company funds, so that's a big thing. But the other matter of it is apparently the woman who Vince had an affair with had went from a $100,000 a year pay to $200,000 a year pay after he had sex with her. So that could be something noteworthy to the company if the pay raise was due to the sexual relations. But obviously Vince is going to fight that. And apparently the friend of this woman said McMahon had, quote, given her like a toy, unquote, to Johnny Ace. But all reports I've read say that these are consensual. So it's not like she said no to any of this, according to any reports I've read. And she ended up getting a large sum of money for it. So it's hard to feel bad for someone that had consensual sex and made $3 million off of it. Anyways, apparently Stephanie McMahon is the new CEO of the company, as I reported earlier. John Laurinaitis is 59 and is married to the mother of the Bella twins right now. He had been previously married before that. And at one point, Triple H had the position that John Laurinaitis now has in talent relations, but John Laurinaitis later took it back after Mark Carrano was fired back in 2021. Apparently, the WWE lawyer, Jerry McDivitt, told the Wall Street Journal that the employee that the main article was about has not made any claims that McMahon had harassed her at all. So there's no claims of sexual harassment or forced sexual activity from what I understand. The other big news of the week is Jeff Hardy, who's now 44, was arrested June 13th after he was seen swerving and running off the road in Florida, which is in the Daytona Beach area where this took place. He was arrested and charged with driving with a canceled license, suspended license or revoked license, violating restrictions placed on his driver's license, and his third DUI charge within 10 years. So he didn't have a license and he was driving, and apparently his blood alcohol level was about 3.7 times the legal limit. So here in Canada, to drive with a suspended license is a huge deal, and you should not do that, particularly if your license is suspended for a DUI and you're driving under the influence. So who knows why he was actually driving when he shouldn't have been driving to begin with. But AEW has since suspended him, and they want him to get treatment, and they're willing to help with treatment, apparently. And if he completes a treatment program successfully, he'll be welcome back with the company if he maintains sobriety, according to Tony Khan. The Great Muta, who's now 59, announced that he's going to retire after having another 5 or 6 more matches. A lot of people remember him best from his WCW days. WWE has signed 15 more college athletes from its Next in Line program. This is basically where they sponsor athletes who they think have the potential to be future WWE superstars. The biggest one they've signed so far to a deal like this has been Gable Stevenson, who went on to be an Olympic gold medalist, but he hasn't debuted yet other than making appearances, but he hasn't become a full-time member of the roster yet. Dynamite did its lowest rating since April 2021 this week, 0.28. Was taped in St. Louis, had 4,500 paid fans. NXT did a 0.12 rating. Raw did a 0.43 rating from Wichita and had the second lowest Raw crowd since the pandemic with only 3,100 paid. Rampage did a 0.16 rating. SmackDown last week from Baton Rouge, Louisiana did a 0.44 rating with 4,000 paid. Meltzer brings up that John Cena might be the only proven ticket mover left with WWE ever since he was announced on the June the 6th Raw that he's going to be on the June 27th Raw in Laredo, Texas. The ticket sales went up from 3,726 to 5,154. So that's a significant jump, and we're still pretty far away from that. So I expect them to get an even better crowd because John Cena, of course, is now a movie star as well. Ken Patera, who's 78 now, and I've interviewed numerous times, is coming out with a book. Meltzer brings up that he should be a Hall of Fame candidate. I agree with that. For the Oliver Luck from the XFL versus Vince McMahon lawsuit, scheduled to go to trial on July 11th. Apparently, they had a settlement conference this week that only lasted about nine minutes long. So there was no settlement reached. So lots of news this week. Lots going on in wrestling. And definitely, if you're not following us on Facebook, follow us on our The Hannibal TV Facebook page. We're also at The Hannibal TV on Twitter and Instagram. Dave, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff going on with WWE. In the end, it's more interesting than anything that's going on with the product. But it seems like Vince McMahon's still in charge of creative, and there's still McMahon running the company. And obviously Vince McMahon still has a lot of power. He's opening the show. So it doesn't seem like much is going to change. But of course, the investigation still hasn't happened. But if he used his own money to pay off the woman, the only issue, I guess, could be is did she get a raise due to the affair? I guess time will tell. So on that note, I got some other stuff to do. Wish everybody a wonderful evening.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video, then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you don't miss any of my latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Facebook at the Hannibal TV for more live streams and